Hi, everyone. Welcome to Women of Wisdom. On a side note, I am actually going into hiding just for a little bit. 7 years ago, I acquired a deviated septum. And what that means to you guys is you guys won't see me because I can't look at the computer um, while recovering. Well, anyway, long story short, the reason why I told you guys that is because of today's guest. I am fortunate enough to have Debora Lloyd out of Asheville, North Carolina, to talk to us not only about her book, but about alternative medicine. And when I say alternative medicine, you're going to think Wynn's nuts. Wynn's absolutely nuts. bringing a master on, bringing a master on women of wisdom. Well, Wynn's not nuts because I am a product of alternative medicine, and I will get to that story in a minute. And so I am privileged enough to welcome Debora Lloyd, and she is also a book author, and so that's one of the things I'm curious about. And so that leads me into my first question. And so, what made you want to get certified in alternative medicine?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here with you today. I've been looking forward to it. So, just a real quick story on myself and my history is that I had polio as a little girl in the 1950s, and I have quite a severe limp and atrophied legs. And all in all, I did pretty well. I got married. I actually have two children. I have a career. But things started to change for me in the early 90s. And the biggest problem I was having was chronic fatigue. And at that time, they were finding out that a lot of the polio survivors were having major problems. So I did find a doctor that had some understanding of post polio syndrome. They actually named it. And they did start me on a small amount of medication, and it helped a little bit, but not a great deal. Fast forward to 2001, I'm still struggling with fatigue, and I was working, I'm a social worker. I was working with a woman who had just become a Reiki master. And I really do appreciate what you said because when she told me about it, my first thought was, this sounds pretty crazy. It doesn't sound like it could work. And what Reiki is a form of energy healing where people go,
Yes.
become
And
trained and attuned.
for those of you who do not know, I have a Reiki master of my own. She happens to be a human rights and social justice priest
Yes.
out based out in Virginia. And people think I'm crazy when I say I'm going into a Reiki session. I'm going. People think we're nuts. People, people
Yeah.
think we're nuts. And now, granted, I have a bad back due to scoliosis, and then I landed up having scoliosis surgery. They let my spine go dead for 20 minutes on the operating table, and then let my they let my spine go dead. They also gave me version of what they call propofol infusion syndrome, which means your blood has an allergic reaction to the anesthesia, which means your blood gets acidic.
Right.
So basically, what long story short, and then I lost my mom 4 years ago to a brain aneurysm. But so basically, long story short, when I started this incredible journey of transformation on my on my own body, I was a mess. I was a mess. I was psychological. I was spiritual. I was a mess. And
Mm.
so this person, under her own circumstances, came out here. Didn't know she was going to see me after 21, 21 years, and then came and found me. We crossed paths, and I remember because I was also a triathlete at the time, and all this having to do with cerebral palsy, and having to do with the bad back, and having to do with bent metal in my back, and all that good stuff from the scoliosis. And so I remember at the time, you guys, her texting me in the IA in Denver International Airport, and her saying, I am a Reiki master. And at the time I thought, yeah. Now, granted, this is a very good friend of mine, and granted, and at the time I thought, you are nuts. You are absolutely nuts. You are absolutely nuts. And now, granted, I have had vaulting, I've had Reiki done very inappropriately on me, and then I have had a little bit of experience with alternative medicine, but at the time I thought she's nuts. So I
Yeah.
said, let me think about that. Well, do
Yeah.
you know what? By the time I got off the plane in Atlanta, my final destination was Atlanta. I was in so much pain from my bad back that I texted my Reiki master, who's also a dear friend of mine, back and said, "You win. You win. You get my body. You get me. You get." And so I've been on projects of Reiki for a year and a half, over a year and a half, and it's the best thing since sliced bread. Now, granted, I still have a bad back, and now, granted, it's not for the. You kind of have to figure out the right Reiki master to work with you. She
Yes.
hap- my Reiki master happens to have a shitload of knowledge
Mm.
on cerebral palsy
Okay.
because, and she happens to have a background in education, a background in speech pathology, a background in cerebral palsy to begin with
Mm.
before she became a Reiki master. And so, but you have to have the right person work on you because if it's done wrong, it won't make a difference.
Yeah.
So that's enough about me, but that's why I was curious. Why did you write the book to your book to begin
Right.
with? Was it
Yeah.
something about polio, or was it something about Reiki, or was it
Well,
your journey
actually,
with polio?
yeah. Well, actually, I am a voracious reader. It's always been in the back of my mind. Someday I'd like to write a book, but I never knew what I was going to write about. But what happened really that very first session? So this coworker told me about it, talked to me several times before I said yes, but then I went to her Reiki master. It was not comfortable for me to go to a coworker because I did know underneath some of my physical problems, just like you, I had some emotional issues to deal with and some spiritual issues. That very first session that I had, I actually felt some of the fatigue leave my body. I immediately felt better, but I really did need more work. So after a couple of sessions, my husband saw a huge difference. This Reiki master said, "You two ought to come to a class because he could help you and you could work on each other." What a lot of people don't know is if you become a Reiki master, you can do Reiki for yourself. I
Yes.
actually have been doing Reiki on myself every day for 13 years, and it has made all the difference in the world. But another thing it did is it opened me up to other alternative medicine because I would not have tried other things. I've worked now with mediums to help with, because I lost my father at a very young age, and that helped some of that healing and the grief and the loss issues and everything. I've worked with an acupuncturist, and I worked with a shamanic intuitive healer. And it was during one of those sessions that I was told I need to be writing this down, that it would become a book and it would help people. So that's really how it all started. And then,
Okay.
and
Okay.
yeah, and
Well,
writing the book was very cathartic.
basically, before I got into alternative medicine, I wasn't told you need to. Like when I did, I went on my own. But I since then I've been a product of Reiki, and I've been told you now need to um, do more writing and
Yes.
do more writing because you're here to help people. And
Yes.
this is by a Reiki master that told me
Yes.
that. So I believe that statement when you say listen to these alternative medicine people because they have more wisdom than you would like to shake a stick at.
Yes.
Oh,
And, alternative medicine, what I like about it, because you've also hit upon this, it's really mind, body, spirit healing.
yes,
If you go to a doctor and get a medication, and I'm not against medication, there are some situations where medication is really necessary. But along with the medication, we do need that emotional healing. We do need that spiritual healing. And all of us have something we're dealing with, or some hurt in our past, or some trauma. So I really believe, even though people may not have had polio or people may not have CP, they have something they're dealing with. And all of us, I think, have the capacity and have opportunities to heal. And
yeah,
that's really my message.
and what I keep telling people is that I am a big believer in um, medicine myself, in traditional
Yes.
doctors myself. I'm just not a huge believer in the hospitals aspect. I want in out in out as quickly as I can because
Right.
I feel like you get sicker in hospitals than than you do in your own natural environment. And people keep laughing at me because I'm having this deviated septum done, and I'm going to say they're going to give me a shitload of payment, and excuse my language, but that's the way I
Yeah.
feel because um, doctors, that's what doctors tend to do. And I'm like, I'll take them for as long as I need them, but then I'm going to have all these energy healers come in and work
Yes.
on me, including my own, which which that's going to make me a happy camper because I'm off the loopy pain medication, and I'm sure with polio they gave you a boatload of pain medication too.
Yeah. Well, I have to say I was pretty fortunate. I was one of the rare cases that did not have a lot of pain. I did have surgeries as a little girl. those were very painful because there were not pain medications back then. Or not, there were pain medications, but they were not as effective as they are today.
Yeah.
So
So,
I really do hear what you're saying, but
yeah,
fortunately, I do think, not all, but some of the medical professionals are opening up to alternative medicine. So it's not as close as it used to.
not all,
No,
not
not all.
all.
No, not all. Not all, but some are. Some are.
When when I was dealing with medical this morning, I told the woman I'm about to get into this huge CAT scan, and I told the woman I have Harrington bonds. I have Harrington bonds in my back for scoliosis, but they won't bother they won't bother me. They won't bother the CAT scan. And she's like, "You're the walker. You are standing straight and tall." She almost looked at me like she I was nuts
Yeah, yeah.
because
No, it's definitely not
I
all.
walk in there. I walk in there. I say, "Let's get this over with. Let's get this over with." And then, like I'm like she. Most doctors look at me like I'm nuts when I say I'm on no medications, but yet I have metal in my back and it's bent and um it's all screwed up and I have a bad back.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yet,
Yeah. And of course, I have to say, I do live in a very open area in Asheville, North Carolina. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's much more open than some other cities in this country for sure.
well, I am familiar with it, and of course, I live in a very in how do I put this? In a very exercise friendly alternative medicine state.
Uh, mhm. Yes.
So yeah. So um and so it's very it's very interesting. Um
Yes, it
it's
is.
very interesting. And how would you say people would find more about Reiki and more about you and more about your book and let's get all
Sure.
let's
Yeah. Well, I'll start with Reiki. It is now very, compared to even what it was in 2001, 13 years ago, it is much more known. One of my favorite websites is Reiki.org, which is William Lee Rand's website. And he has been doing Reiki and training people since the early 80s in this country.
okay.
And he has many materials and that type of thing. He has wonderful, there's over 300 articles on that website that you can read about Reiki. My website is Deb Lloyd Healing. That's DebLloyd Healing, DebLloydHealing.com. So on that, I do talk about Reiki. I do teach Reiki here in Asheville. I am available for distant healing if anyone would like that, because you can send Reiki over the miles.
Yes.
So,
Oh, yes, you can.
yes, you
Oh, yes,
can.
you can. I know that. I know. I
Yes.
know that. And yeah, I've been yeah, I've been doing that for a year and a half. So it's yeah, you can't. It's pretty unique
Yes.
what you can do with Reiki. It's pretty unique
Yeah.
what
It's really
you
no
can
science.
do with
Yeah.
Reiki. But as I said to you guys, you have to, if you want to do this, you have to find the correct person
Yeah.
to work with
And
you.
that's what's lovely about now and much more common. So I do think it's important. It's not that any particular person may not be a good Reiki master. It's more about finding the right match. Just like finding a doctor or
Yeah,
finding a friend.
yeah.
It's not that a person's bad, it's just
Finding a
you two
friend, I
don't
love it.
connect.
Finding a friend, I love it. Friends. Well, Reiki Master will. a Reiki master will be your friend if you be your
Well, that's
close
true too.
friend if you don't watch out, because mine happened to be a close friend before I knew she was a Reiki master. So yeah, it's a pretty unique experience, and I didn't realize um, until until I became a mess. I didn't realize how Reiki would save my body,
Right.
and it's like you've people are so body conscious, and they're so go 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 go, but yet those of us with disability, i.e. polio and cerebral palsy, have to stop and smell the roses.
Yes, yes, yes. And you don't even have to have a disability though for Reiki to be effective because we're all
No,
different
no,
with
you
something.
don't, you
But
don't,
no, but
you
it's
don't,
very
and that's
helpful for
the other
anyone
thing I
who's
was
dealing with a
going
chronic
to say
condition
to
or
my listeners.
disability.
You don't necessarily have to have um, a disability for Reiki to be effective, for alternative, for acupuncture to be effective, for
Yes.
alternative um, medicine to be effective, but there's no case studies, I don't think, yet on polio or CP with Reiki.
Well, on those specifically, I can't say, but one of the things going back to Reiki.org, and William Lee Rand has started a research component. One of the things they have studied that I can think of off the top of my head, and they're real legitimate research studies, they have studied the recovery time in hospitals after surgery when Reiki is applied in the recovery rooms. And there's actually some wonderful evidence now that Reiki does help decrease the pain and actually speeds up the recovery time.
Isn't
And I
isn't
know
that
this anecdotally in working with people where if you have an injury, that Reiki can really help things go faster. And I
isn't
actually had a personal life situation, not for myself, but for a relative that got a very bad burn on the palm of her hand. I did Reiki on it right away, and it was so bad it should have blistered. It totally skipped the blistering part. When she got up the very next morning, all the skin was like that dry skin after a blister. It did like a week of healing with overnight, and that truly did happen. So there's many things that Reiki does. So even for injuries, stress, Reiki is wonderful for stress because it brings this calming
yes,
effect.
yes, and that is that is something that I want to emphasize,
Yes.
because people are so into technology these days,
Yes.
and get stressed out over God knows what.
Right.
Reiki can fix that in 2 seconds flat.
Yes.
Reiki can fix that in 2 seconds flat, and Deborah knows it. I know it, and uh, a lot a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know that, and sometimes if you're lucky, the Reiki master will work on you at no cost. But that that doesn't happen very often. With my own, she doesn't charge anything for anyone. I don't care if you have a disability or not. But but 9 times out of 10, they do charge, and I want to talk to you about that that aspect of it, because people are going to listen to this interview and think, "Oh, my child has cerebral palsy, and my child has a disability. How can I get in touch with all any alternative medicine master, and will they charge me arm and a leg to do it? And I I want to ask you that for
Mm.
my personal sake, because what I was trying to do after my after my nose was have more alternative medicine done on me, but yet they wanted they wanted to charge me arm and a leg, and it's like no.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. I think I do charge, and I'm going to tell you why. I do run a space, so I have expenses in running the space and liability insurance and things like that. That being said, I do a lot of sliding fee scale work, and I've done bartering, and a lot of people do that. I also believe energies change. In other words, sometimes we value the things that we have to put some effort into, whether it's money, whether it's some kind of bartering thing, whatever it is. There's something to be said for an energy exchange. But I have done a number of sessions of what I would consider a low cost, and it's something the person and I worked out together. So it's something that's affordable to them.
So
And in the
again, you just have to ask before
yes,
you
just
delve
as soon.
into this.
Yeah,
Ask before
yeah,
you delve into this, and
yes,
sometimes you're gonna get very lucky. I got very lucky with mine, and I got
yeah,
very lucky with mine,
yeah,
and she doesn't charge a cent to anyone, and but they
yeah.
do Reiki masters, because of the work they do energetically with all of us,
Yeah.
have to, it takes a toll on their bodies as well.
Well, I actually, that one piece I'm going to disagree with. It doesn't really take a toll on your body because the energy comes through me. It energizes me, but, but it does mean I leave my home, I go to our space, and I am fortunate. My husband's a massage therapist. So we share a space.
You've
So it
got the
isn't that I have to
you've
cover
got the
all of
best of
it.
both worlds. You've got the
Yeah.
best of both worlds. And so I don't want to give all the book away, but what
Yeah.
is the main message of your book?
I would say the main message is healing is always possible, no matter what your situation is, whether it's a physical disability, whether it's grief. And, some people suffer from grief their entire life, no matter if you feel disconnected to it, no matter if you have traumas in your life or a lot of pain, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual, there are always opportunities for healing. And I believe once you make the decision that you can be healed, the Spirit works with you, and Spirit taps you on the shoulder, sometimes by sending you someone. I'm a big believer. If I hear something two or three times, especially in a close period of time, it is definitely a message that
Well,
this is something I
I
need to
believe
pursue.
that and she my Reiki master knows this too. I
Yes.
I believe that my mom sent me
Yes.
sent me my Reiki master, because
Yes.
the reason why I say that is because she knew about my bad back, and she knew
Yeah.
about the grief, of course, and she knew about the cerebral palsy, and yet she didn't know about the triathlon aspect of it. But
Right.
but at that time I didn't know which way it was up, and so I was trying to muster up the physical aspect to
Mm.
do these triathlons, and yes, am, and yes, I was a triathlete, and so I believe that it it just has to be you have to be open to it.
Right.
You have to
Absolutely.
be open to it.
Yes. Yes.
And people, as I said at the beginning, people may think Win and Deborah are nuts talking
Yeah.
about Reiki and talking about books, but
Right.
people have to be open to it.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
if they as as I said, Reiki can be set long distance. So even if the Reiki master isn't in your state, but yet they're still a good match for you, you
Yes.
guys you guys can always ask them for for something along the lines of, can you help me?
Right.
Can
Right.
you help me do this, and I'll pay you for it, or work out a sliding scale, or work out
Yes.
border trade on
Right.
the aspect of Reiki. And I wish that the hospitals were more into it. They'll probably they'll probably think I'm nuts when I come out of surgery and I push those pain meds away. They'll probably think I'm nuts when I come out of surgery and push those pain meds away. And I'm like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, that's not going to be helpful to
Yeah.
any of us. And so,
Well, you may want to go get a copy of that research and
oh,
bring it in.
yeah, yeah, I
You
should,
should,
now that I think about it, I should get a copy of
because it's really good
that
research.
research.
Yeah.
I
So let
should.
me show the people my book. I'll put it up here
That's
and
a
get the picture.
beautiful cover, by the way. That's a
Isn't it
beautiful.
gorgeous? And they let me choose it. It is published by John Hunt Publishing. It's called Believe and It Is True, a story of healing and life lessons. You can get it through my website, John Hunt Publishing, but it's also available on Amazon.com, Barnes and Noble, all
Yeah.
the big
Well,
bookstore.coms.
well,
And it's
the
available in ebook for the people that read electronically now. But this publisher, I'll just tell you this real quick. They send once you're under contract and all to a website that has over 100,000 images on it, and I had to have purple, blue, and green because those are all different colors tied in with the chakras and healing colors. And this is
healing
the one I
colors.
chose, and they
Aha.
loved it
Aha. Because
because it's like a beam of light, and I see that as the universe,
it
the
it
spirit.
has to do
Yes.
something with Reiki. Aha. So that's well, I may just have to do that with my one of my books myself, um because I know there's different colors involved in Reiki. And
Yes.
when you mention that, quickly mention what one what those colors mean and how they can help the body heal.
Yes. Well, all colors have energy because everything has energy. And we do believe sometimes you might be attracted to a color because you have a lot of that energy, or you might be attracted to a color because your energy system needs that color. Purple traditionally is the color of the crown chakra that connects us with spirit. And I do believe that real healing always has a spiritual component. And the violet color is just always very healing. Green is also a very healing color. It's also the color associated with our heart chakra. And often healing begins with really self acceptance, loving ourselves, and I guess I'm always constantly surprised. It's always so much easier for us to be critical of ourselves than to think
Yeah,
highly of
exactly.
ourselves. And that we deserve to be healed. Are we worthy to be healed? Yes, you are. You're a being You're a light being here on earth. Yes, you are here to be healed. And
Exactly.
so, so
Exactly.
many of us are attracted to these colors for that reason. Red is with the root chakra. I've always been attracted to red. The root chakra for me, which is our very lowest chakra, ties in with our legs and feet. As I mentioned, my legs and feet are still weaker than most people's. But it's a very earthy color. It helps to ground us. It's around stability. So you can look at what issues you're dealing with and find out what color coordinates with that. You can bring that color and that energy into your life.
I think I'm a purple person more than a, I think I'm I think I am connected with spirit personally because purple happens to be one of my favorite colors as a child,
Yes.
and so a lot of the times people associate me with purple, and it's like,
Yes.
yep, yep, you got it, and even though when
Yeah.
people energetically working on me, they say
Yes.
purple, 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 and so it's like, okay, so I have
Yes.
to stick purple in one of my books now. I I keep sticking green for cerebral palsy awareness. And is there
Um,
anything that we can do um, to help polio survivors? Is us us that may not understand polio? Is there anything we can do to
well,
assist?
I have to say, many polio survivors are really having a very, very hard time. Some of them that walked, and I can walk alone. I do usually walk with a cane when I'm doing any distance. People that walked as well as I am, some of them are totally wheelchair bound now. They cannot walk at all. They have lost everything again. Polio attacked the spine, which then went out to our nervous systems and all of that. So some people are actually losing that nervous system capacity. So they are now, again, not able to walk at all. So support them, let them know you understand. There are some doctors throughout the country that are really catching up to it and really sometimes they're, I always get the word wrong, they're the physical rehabilitation doctors, and they really understand what can work, what doesn't work. The other thing, just a funny thing, but most of us are type A personalities because many of us now that are still living got polio as children. And so we, in order to compensate for that disability, we became achievers in the areas like
Yeah,
I'm a voracious
yeah,
reader. Can you relate to that, Lynn?
yeah. Cerebral palsy, the type A personality will jump in with two left feet if we're not careful. Jeez, we'll jump in with two left feet because as I said, my lower body is weak. My lower
Yes.
body is weak. Same with you. So upper body is perfectly fine. It's
Yes.
just a little bit weak, but our lower body um, is perfectly weak and and all that good stuff. So are as our minds are overachievers, 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 and people say to me all the time, "I don't know how you do it. I
Yeah.
don't know how you do it," and I will say the only thing that will slow me down is surgery. The
Yeah.
only thing that will slow me down is surgery. And so that's where I'm headed in the next couple of weeks here. And so that's the only thing that will slow me down. But other than that, we jump in, we try anything, and yes, people will probably call me nuts for doing this interview on alternative alternative medicine, but I feel like I needed to do it for my own sake, to let the cat out of the bag too, and I feel like I needed to do it to help those who don't understand what it's like having a disability, and yet what it's like being us and doing
Right,
alternative medicine along with fighting a disability.
right, right. And one of the things we can do is educate people. And I will share one of the joys after the book came out. We have a local polio support group, and I went to it, and I was a little bit nervous because I really am among the younger ones. A lot of the people there were older, and I did not know if they would be open to Reiki. Um, what happened was one of the gentlemen raised his hand and said, "Would you be willing to train some of us to do Reiki?" So I ended up doing a little training class here locally for
Oh,
several.
good,
It
good.
was just very, very cool. And so, we should share our life experiences with other people
We
because
should.
we should, because and we're all here. All of us are here to share our experiences,
And
to teach
teach others.
people,
And
and that's why yes,
I started this Women of Wisdom, because I became a published author long before I became
yeah,
into alternative medicine, and I people ask me all the time, how did you do this? How did you publish a book? How did you do this? How are you running a company with cerebral palsy? How are you doing this? How are you public speaking? How are you being now a triathlete? And how are you doing this? And I said, well, I need to start this um, project. Actually, again,
yes,
I listened to myself, and
yes,
I prayed about it. A lot of people don't know that. And
right,
then I got involved with a women's support network on Facebook, and then I said, "Hey, I need I need to share my knowledge along with sharing other people's knowledge." Um,
right.
so that's how Women of Wisdom came to be, because we all have gifts and talents that need to be shared with
Absolutely.
the world.
Yeah. And you said something very important. You listened to yourself. I believe we all have inner wisdom. We just don't know it
Ah,
sometimes.
yeah. Sometimes
And
it
we
gets
don't,
the best of us.
one of my favorite sayings is trust your gut.
Ah, yeah.
Listen to
Yeah,
your
and
gut because your gut
I'll leave it at
tells you.
that. And on that note, it was a pleasure talking to you. And I'll have someone, not me, post your link at the bottom of this
Thank
website. And for those of you who are just new to Reiki, uh, it's a really interesting experience. It's a really interesting experience. And one quick story I will share with you. After my devastating back operation, I had nerve damage, and I had um, not full motion of my neck. Well, this is before the bent metal came into effect. And so I, this is after my Reiki master started working on me.
you.
And one morning I walk into my bathroom, I'm getting ready for work. I turn my neck thinking, okay, this is not going to be helpful. It's going to be the same aspect of half turning up the neck that it always was. Do you know that that morning I had full range of motion of my neck,
Yes,
and
I believe.
I am like, okay, this is it. This is it. I
Yes.
am a big believer in alternative medicine
Yes.
because when they left me paralyzed, as I said, and I think they fused my neck too, and although they won't admit to that, and so I now have full motion of my neck, and I'm feeling the best I've felt in about 5 to 4 to 5 years, energy wise,
Yes.
because of what Reiki has done. So, for those
Yes.
of you who now are going to call me nuts for admitting that I am a project of alternative medicine, and for those of you who are going to say, what were you talking about with Deborah, and along with her book, and you just have to find out for yourself. You just have to. Now, I give you guys a homework assignment. Research Reiki. Research
Yeah.
Reiki. And I give you guys, and there's a shitload of articles on Reiki. There's
Yeah.
specific websites, as Deborah and I said, but type in Reiki to Google, and
Yeah.
you will find
Yes.
page after page after page after page of how to train yourself, on how to get in touch with the Reiki master, on how to do Reiki on yourself. I happen to be fortunate enough to have a Reiki master doing on me, but you guys really need to look um, into it, as Deborah and I both emphasize, and will emphasize this again before the hour's up. Um, it's not only about the disabled.
Yes.
Two women today are talking about Reiki because they're both disabled. Me and Deborah. Deborah having polio, me having cerebral palsy, and
Right.
but it's not only for the disabled. It's for
Yes.
everyone.
Yes.
I don't care what your disability is. I don't care if you're psychologically disabled. I don't care if you're physically disabled. I don't care if God knows what. I don't care what economic um,
Mhm.
stature you come from. I don't care what family situation you come from. We all need to slow down and stop and smell the roses. And Reiki is going to help you do that. And
Right.
I am a project of Reiki, as I said. And as I said, I think everyone should learn a little bit about alternative medicine. I don't care if it's Reiki or golfing, I don't care. But I just think alternative medicine is the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah. And I am waiting for the day, I think it will come, where our health insurance will start paying for some of these things because the evidence is out there. You know,
It's
the massage
funny.
therapists have
It's
been working
funny
on
that
this for a long
you say
time.
that. It's funny
Yeah.
that you say that. And I was looking at something on my health insurance the other day, and of course I'm on Medicaid, and so I was looking, and in the little teensy weensy print, it says alternative medicine is covered, and this is on Medicaid. So I
Wonderful.
have, I haven't
Wonderful.
touched, I haven't touched that one yet, but
Yeah. Well,
eventually I
Medicaid
will.
is actually managed by the states, so I'm hoping your state is more open. Some insurance companies are beginning, like some are now covering acupuncture. Um, every once in a while, you can get massage therapy covered if it's tied in, like with a car accident or something
Yeah.
like that. They may cover it short term. So again, it's starting. We have
it's
long way to
starting,
go.
but
Yeah,
we've got a long way to go to
yeah.
get it
And that'll
to,
be a benefit to the workers and more importantly to the
yes,
patients, no
to
matter
get,
what it is.
to get it, we've got a long way to go to get
Yes,
alternative medicine in
yeah,
the hospitals and
yes,
teach others about alternative medicine.
yes, yes, for sure. Long
We've
ways to go, but when I look back even, 13 years ago when I learned Reiki, I remember back then Amazon was fairly new. I went out and did a book search, and there were a few hundred. Put in Reiki now on Amazon.com, you'll get a
yeah,
couple thousand
yeah,
books.
yeah, get almost thousand,
A
get
lot
almost
more.
thousand. Well, I appreciate the time, and I know you have got to get going, but I appreciate the time on my show. And again, you guys, I leave you with a homework assignment. You need to research alternative medicine.
Yes. And I'll send you some Reiki for your surgery. Thank you so much
Thank
for having
you. Bye.
me. Bye.